time, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to get this thing going. All Detroit Lions today. Good morning, everybody. What's up, Jim? Good morning, Tina. What's up, Drew? Villain Squad, baby. All Detroit Lions today. What's going on, everybody? Hey. What are you doing out there, ladies and gentlemen? It is Monday. It is July 17th, and we are here, right now. My name is Russell Wayne. I am your host of NFL Football Talk. It's usually NFC North Football Talk, but today, specifically, it is Detroit Lions Football Talk with your host, Russell Wayne, and my co-host today, Main Event Mike. How are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm so good, Russ. Feels great. It's July. It's in Michigan. It's gorgeous. Can't get any better than this. We're a week away from training camp. It just keeps getting better.
The rookies are reporting, and we have a lot to be happy about as Lions fans. We do have some people in here. We are broadcasting into the NFC North main event. But the Detroit Lions Villain Squad, our page, Detroit Lions News, my own personal page, our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we would love people to go over there and watch us on YouTube because I love their platform. And then our groups, NFC North Open Mic, NFC North The Huddle. We're in there too. But we are only talking about Lions today. And we really want to go through position by position here and really let's just talk about the training camp battles, because usually it's with a bunch of starters, and we don't have that problem as much as we have in years past, to where the battles would really start. But let's start with quarterback. And I mean, it's really obvious. Obviously, Jared Goff is our quarterback, but I guess the question would be, how many quarterbacks do you think that the Lions are going to keep on the roster?
You asking me?
I'm asking you, yes.
I think they're going to have 4. I think they'll have 1 on the practice squad now because of the new NFL rule change where you can have an emergency quarterback, a rule, by the way, that the Detroit Lions proposed and that was passed. We saw what happened with San Francisco 49ers last year. You don't have enough quarterback depth. And Brad Holmes even alluded to it in a press conference a couple of months ago, that they kind of slid into home with no real plan what to do if Goff were to get hurt. Now they drafted Hendon Hooker. They still have Nate Sudfeld. I still believe they'll bring in a veteran quarterback to round out the cast to make it at least 4.
So you aren't really buying the Hendon Hooker hype for any type of 2023 type of deal. He is definitely, in your mind, I mean, he's going to be a red shirt, right?
No, I think he's still on. I think he makes the 53-man roster and he's on the sidelines. And Nate Sudfeld is number 2.
And do you think that he would, I mean, there are talks of him possibly starting on the PUP list and maybe just go ahead and just take him out for the first 6 weeks. And then maybe Adrian Martinez, gets to be on that practice squad, and they only roster 2 on the main roster, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, the PUP list is separate of the practice squad, the 53-man roster. So he could reside there on the PUP list for 6 weeks. That would be a solution to having too many quarterbacks. So definitely he falls into that category coming off of an ACL.
And, with I think they really do like Adrian Martinez. I think that that's an undersold commodity right here. And that 3 quarterback rule, I mean, if they are keeping Sudfeld as the backup and then having a guy like Adrian Martinez to where somebody couldn't steal him, which is a big thing. Because if they do make him go to the practice squad, that would mean that other teams could come in and bid on him and possibly steal him from your practice squad, whereas if he was on the roster, they would be able to protect him.
Yeah, well, 18 on the practice squad, you can protect 6. So
okay.
The Lions protect him on the practice.
They could protect him, but you could use the protection in other spots.
Right. DBs, offensive linemen, those are the things they love to protect for depth because injuries happen at those positions so often.
So there was a article that came out. We're going to put a little thing out tomorrow on it, and not an article, but they were saying Chuck Pagano had said that Jared Goff, if he were to lead the Detroit Lions to a division win and then a home playoff game and a playoff victory, that he would be an MVP candidate. Do you think there might be any truth in that, or is that just Chuck Pagano just rolling up some smoke?
Well, last year, Justin Fields was an MVP candidate because one person nominated him. So, I mean, there's definitely, he'd be a candidate for MVP. But, I mean, let's face it, if he takes this team to the Super Bowl, then Super Bowl, what?
Right, what?
Stop playing with us. He's an MVP candidate if that happens.
Yeah. We got Drew in here, says that Hendon Hooker will be the number 3. He's looking good. Like they came out with a couple of the interviews and him asking him about the rehab and everything, he's already throwing off of this leg. And, he had the injury in November of last year. I mean, how quickly could you even see him even saying that he could be ready? I mean, to count on him to, take meaningful snaps.
9 or 10 months is the usual recovery time for the ACL injury. He's already ahead of schedule, as from what they said. But the only thing that throws a wrench in that, and thank you for the comment, Drew. The only thing that throws a wrench in that for me is that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have both already come out and said this is a redshirt year for him. They've already said it. They've already alluded to the fact that he may not see the field at all this year. And to your point, Russ, Blake Martinez might fill that role as the number 3. But I think as Lions fans, we're all excited to see Hendon Hooker suit up number 12 and at least be on the sideline.
Yeah, but I think they're in for disappointment. Like, if it was my opinion, I would love to know what you guys think of this, but I honestly, in the camp of how they handle Jamison Williams, that even if he was ready in 9 months, that what's the rush here, especially when you got Jared Goff playing at a high level, and I'm really excited to get into some of these other skill positions. So let's move on, because there really isn't a big talk about quarterback. We know Jared Goff is the quarterback, and we know that they've got some heir apparents in the backup spot. We'll see who can win that backup position. It looks like it's going to be Nate Sudfeld, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen when they get into training camp? But running back. Now, this is exciting because this is a complete overhaul. So, setting the table, out goes DeAndre Swift, out goes Jamal Williams, and then in comes David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You and I both agree that that's an upgrade. So let's talk about this running back room.
Well, Brad Holmes has made no bones about it. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to line up as a wide receiver a lot. He's a home run hitter, in Brad's own words, he's a home run hitter as a running back, but they are really going to use him as a weapon. And so I think his role is already defined. We know that David Montgomery is a 3-down back in this league. He can block. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's number 1 in the league in breaking tackles. Definitely an upgrade there. So I think those 2 positions are already set. What really gets intriguing is beyond those 2. You've got Craig Reynolds. You've got Greg Bell coming back. You've got Jamar Jefferson, who was a Brad Holmes draft pick, and you've got Greg. Did I say Greg Bell?
You did say Greg Bell.
Craig Reynolds is what I meant. Netflix. Let's do them in order, right? We've got Montgomery, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs, then you've got Craig Reynolds, you've got Jamar Jefferson, you've got Greg Bell, and don't forget Mohamed Ibrahim, who led the Big Ten and went undrafted. He averaged 100 yards a game in college. The guy is explosive. He's steady. He's reliable. He's also a 3-down back. So you've got an overload there. Somebody's got to go.
Right. I guess it would be how many? How many running backs do you think that we would keep? And based off of what you said, like what you alluded to right there with Jahmyr Gibbs, is that they view him more as a weapon pass catcher. So does that mean that we keep more running backs?
Well, I think we see he translates to Alvin Kamara. You hear the comparisons of Jahmyr Gibbs all the time to Alvin Kamara. And if you look at the New Orleans Saints, who Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn are both disciples of the Sean Payton system in New Orleans, you see that Alvin Kamara, they also have 3 or 4 running backs behind Kamara. Traditionally. So I definitely think that we could see a minimum of 4 backs on the sideline every week, maybe even 5.
Now, I had heard some other comparisons right here, and I know he is compared to some running backs, but I also heard Jahmyr Gibbs compared to Tyler Lockett.
I don't like that comparison. Tyler Lockett's a deep threat. He's a long ball catcher. He's a speedster. He's an over-the-shoulder catch guy. I don't see that comparison very well.
Lockett,
there he goes. Backfield and take a handoff.
Yeah, I think that is a that is a threat, but I think that the comparison is more made to the size and viewing him as a pass catcher, and you can line him up. He was lining up in the X when they were out in the OTAs, so they plan on using him as a pass catcher against your weak guy. I can feel it in my heart, and that last Brad Holmes interview that he had on National really came to that, where he said, forget running back. He those words came out of Brad Holmes' mouth on that National. He said, forget running back. He
Yeah.
is not a running back.
He said, you
They,
should see this guy run routes. This guy can run routes like a wide receiver. So, I mean, it's definitely intriguing. Are you alluding to the most recent interview that Brad did with Peter Schrager on the TV?
yes,
I
absolutely.
encourage everyone out there to go out and watch this interview. It is an
Yep.
hour and 15 minutes long. So it is quite lengthy. Set yourself some time aside, though, because it is outstanding. It actually gives the Brad Holmes backstory. We know where he came from. We know how he got to where he is, the path that he took, the people that made it possible for him. And it's so intriguing. And it really, really gives you a great sense of who this guy is and why he's successful.
Yeah, I love that the running back room for that reason, because I do believe that they will have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs out on the field at the same time more often than not. David Montgomery is our bell cow back, and they did just re-up Craig Reynolds. I really do believe that Craig Reynolds has a solid spot. I don't think his roster spot is in jeopardy at all because of what he can also add to the special teams room. So I think that you got, and don't forget about Jason Kabinda. Jason Kabinda is still on his roster. Are we going to just get rid of the whole traditional fullback thing because we drafted Sam Laporta and, now we have James Mitchell? So those
Well,
are questions that got to be answered.
stalwart on special teams.
He sure is.
And that is a place where Dan Campbell covets special teams players. He also can play fullback and tight end. He's a do-it-all guy. He's a guy that's not begging to get on the field. They don't pay him a lot. I don't see a scenario where Kabinda doesn't make the team.
And that's crazy. So now you have all. I mean, that is a great battle right there. I think Jahmyr Jefferson, if I had to say, and you can put that into the comment, which one of the running backs that are on this roster do you think is in the most danger of losing their roster position? I would definitely have to put my vote in for Jahmyr Jefferson.
For me, it's Bell
and Greg Bell. I would think both of those guys
they're on the bubble.
They're definitely on the bubble for that right there. So that was the running back position.
But it's funny that we say that, but then so you're assuming that Mohamed Ibrahim makes the team as an undrafted free agent rather than Jamar Jefferson, a guy that they drafted.
So here's the reason behind that. Like I would put Ibrahim over because they picked Ibrahim. Ibrahim was picked. I mean, not that Greg Bell wasn't picked, but he was specifically picked this year for this team. And Greg Bell has he has to fight. He's going to have to fight to get past Ibrahim because they've seen something in Ibrahim that they like already. And it just seems like he's the same type of guy that Greg Bell is anyway. So,
and it should be noted also that Ibrahim had a lot of offers as an undrafted free agent, and he in turn also chose the Lions.
So that is a definitely a good thing. So Tina says, thank you for being my friend, Russell. Well, I'm glad to be your friend. Let's go. Chad says that he watched it twice.
Yeah, good. Yeah, Chad. Hey, Chad, good to hear from you.
Chad's in there. And then Drew says, I hope that they don't cut him. I like him. He's like a Swiss Army knife. I'm not sure who he's talking about right there.
I believe is who he's talking about.
Who?
Kabinda is who I think.
Kabinda. Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
They use him at so many different positions.
Yep. I agree with this right here too, Chad, that Laporta will be a receiver, not a tight end. I thought it was peculiar when I read that piece that said that they didn't have him much in the tight end spots. They were lining him up all over the field. They had him practicing with the wide receivers. So that's pretty cool. Drew says Mitch Schnenzel says that they did what?
Oh, he's replying to a comment in there, asking
Gotcha.
how far we are. Probably we've only done quarterback and running back so far on these Lions roster battles, is what I'm deciphering there.
Okay. Yeah, we are only on running backs right here so far. And awesome, thanks. And then Tina says, Mike, do you want to be friends on Facebook? I don't know. I don't know if Tina. I don't know if Tina.
You're a real person and not a bot, not John Dorn's shadow account. You absolutely can friend me on Facebook because I am a self-promoting D-bag. Speaking of self-promoting D-bags, did you hear Aaron Rodgers is going to be on Hard Knocks?
It's my quarterback.
Yes, I did. And I think that's great. It's going to be great for the diva known as Aaron Rodgers because that's going to be all the attention that he's going to. I mean, they're going to give it all to him in one off season. For one, he's going to be in front of New York media. Bring it. And then he's going to have Hard Knocks there, too, so he gets the national media. Oh, yeah, it's all about me. What? So, I hope that Tina is not a bot just trying to. Come on, Tina. Yeah. What you know anything about Lions? Let me see if Tina said anything here about the Lions. We said good morning. Did we lose you, Mike? Or are you still there? We may have lost Mike. All right. I guess it's just me talking about the Lions. So we are on the running backs. And I think that we can move on from the running backs. I think that there's Tina hacked him. What's the question? All right. We're having a little bit of the technical difficulties right here. I want to see if I can bring Mike back in. No. All right. I'm going to kick him out. No. There we go. Now he's gone. All right. So let's move on to the tight end. I like the tight end roster battle because it's a weird roster battle because we just drafted a tight end in the second round, pick 34, Sam Laporta. What do you think of Sam Laporta? Did you like that draft pick? And I really do like what Chad said about him is that they're not going to use him as a tight end because our tight end room is pretty deep. Our tight end room consists of Brock Wright, James Mitchell, and Shane Zylstra from last year. All three of those tight ends had multiple touchdowns. After they traded TJ Hawkinson, I would argue that our tight end play got better. And not because TJ Hawkinson's such a bad tight end. It's just in this style of offense, having versatile different types of weapons, that's hard to defend, especially when you got a distributor like Jared Goff who doesn't force feed people. So they have those three tight ends. I think Sam Laporta is another one of those Jahmyr Gibbs guys. He's going to be a weapon. I don't think that he's going to be doing too much blocking, Chad. Maybe out on the outside. You know, maybe in the run game, blocking some wide receivers or blocking some defensive backs. So, so what do you think? Tight end battle. Do you think Sam Laporta is going to be the number one tight end right off the get-go? Right off the slab? I mean, Brock Wright was good. Block right. I like that. Block right, because he is the blocking tight end. He's a good blocking tight end. Tina is stalking us. Oh, no, she's not. And she says, no, I am not. Hey, Tina, who is the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions? And who's the head coach? Prove to all these guys that you're actually a person that likes football. Throw that into the comments right there. Laporta, Lions 1960 says Sam Laporta is a yak machine. Let's talk about that pick. I love that pick. I love that pick. Sam Laporta at Iowa was literally the only offense that Iowa had. They don't have a quarterback. They even ran this kid out of the Wildcat as a quarterback. He led the team in receiving. They just didn't have a good offense. Iowa Hawkeyes are known for defense. Defense. See? Getting in here with Tina. I'm going to stick up for you. Head coach is Dan Campbell, and the quarterback is Goff. She's not trying to date us. She isn't one of those dater bots. Even though a bunch of those are on here, we try to get rid of all those. We don't worry about that. But back at Sam Laporta. This guy is a yak machine. Brad Holmes went out and drafted guys that make Jared Goff's life easier, that give him the ability to get the ball out of his hand faster. That negates pass rush. You want all these guys that they got can break tackles. David Montgomery was the best break tackle rate running back in the NFL, tied with Nick Chubb. He can break tackles. He just ran behind a dog crap offensive line. Jahmyr Gibbs can break tackles. Sam Laporta can break tackles. Amon-Ra St. Brown can get open. Laporta, oh, there you go. Thank you, Chad. This is a good point right here. Sam Laporta will block downfield as a receiver. And he's got that tenacity. He's got that goofy play style. Doesn't let people get into his head. There it is. Tina knows. Now Tina's getting some love. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Drew. So yeah, the tight end position. So when you're looking at it, that's a deep room. Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra, and James Mitchell. That's all that you're going to need right there. That's good, solid guys all the way through. And really, does it really matter who wins the starting position at that point? I mean, they're going to use Laporta differently than they're going to use Brock Wright. They'll probably have them both out there. They're probably going to use all four of them. Curtis Healy says, absolutely. Laporta starts, Brock Wright, James Mitchell, Zylstra, practice squad. So Curtis thinks they're only going to keep 3 tight ends, and that's possible. I think that they would keep all 4 of them on the team, but we'll have to see. I mean, the Kabinda thing is a big thing. We even got a skull user on there. Maybe that's Jamez chiming in, listen to us talking about these lines. We'll talk about the Minnesota Vikings tomorrow. All Vikings tomorrow, might as well. If not, maybe we'll just cover the other 3 teams because we have more Lions fans up in here than we ever would Viking fans. Sorry, Vikings. Chad says Laporta will destroy corners and safeties blocking down the field. I like that. You like that? I do like that. Tina says thanks to Drew. So let's move on. Let's move on right here. I do like our tight end room, but we got to get through all of them right here. So moving on to wide receivers. We got our wide receiver room is an interesting room, to say the least, because, obviously it's headlined by Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's arguably a top 5 receiver. I would say that he's, if you want to argue with me, we'll say he's a top 5 receiver. He had the best overall PFF grade in the NFC North. So as far as what he can do, it's crazy. It's crazy. This is the number 1 wide receiver, bona fide number 1 wide receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown on the Lions. I don't think that anybody's going to dispute that. And I don't think anyone's really going to go out on a limb and say that he's better than Justin Jefferson like this picture would suggest. But, I mean, even if it is a more complete, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the most complete wide out, number one. There is no question. Nobody is going to be battling for his spot. I think that his spot on the team is safe. Now, where the big questions come in are the number 2, number 3, number 4 wide receiver. And at a glance, you're going to look at all these guys and you're going to say there's nobody that really stands out. I mean, nobody's going to get too excited about Marvin Jones other than Lions fans. Like TJ says Marvin Jones is back in Detroit. No one's going to get too excited about Josh Reynolds. I don't think that Josh Reynolds is like the end all be all, but he's a good wide receiver. There's nothing wrong with Josh Reynolds. He shows up when he's called upon. And another guy that fits in that mold is my man, Khalif Raymond. One of my favorite football players on this team is Khalif Raymond. And this guy, all he does is make big plays. And I love that. I love that. That he doesn't do a ton. He returns punts. And he does all the little dirty work, right? And last year, we suffered quite a few injuries at the wide receiver position. I remember in one of the games, Tom Kennedy was our leading receiver because we had some people out. And guys like Khalif Raymond, they stepped up and played well. I mean, didn't it seem like every time Khalif Raymond caught a ball that it was like a third down and something, and he moved the chains. He made some type of big play. Khalif Raymond is one of those unsung heroes. I love you, Khalif Raymond. That is, you've been nothing but a great signing for Detroit. Great value for where your contract is. So when I look at those 3 wide receivers, you got Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, and Marvin Jones. I look at it like number 3 wide receivers. So, but you're going to have to just put somebody in there. Will just have to step up and play that number 2, even though the number 3s are there. But I do believe Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be in that mix, especially wide receiver style for the first 6 weeks for sure. And we haven't even mentioned Jameson Williams yet, right? Jameson Williams. It's like, I'm so glad that we did not go out and pay big money for DeAndre Hopkins when these guys that are on the team are fine. Josh Reynolds can get open. Khalif Raymond can get open. Lions 1960. Khalif is an underrated dog for us. You know it. If you watched all these Lions games last year, it just seemed like every five big plays that needed to happen, Khalif Raymond was right there. Yes, LOL. St. Brown is not a running back. No. Although he will run the football. I'll tell you what, I love it when they hand the ball off to him on one of them jet sweeps. Amon-Ra St. Brown around the edge. Yeah, I like that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a dog, man. He gets open. So, keep sleeping, MJ. Let's see. What do we got in here? TJ. Marvin Jones, number 2. I'm going through here. J-Mo working out with Amon-Ra. Got me excited. So, yeah, let's talk about that Jameson Williams thing here. And I don't care about the gambling thing, okay? It's done. It's done. He's got a 6-game suspension. You may have thought it was too much, whatever. They ain't worried about it. Jameson Williams will be back week 7. And right now, and what type of suspension is this really, okay? Yeah, he can't play the first 6 games. but you act like he's like kept away from the whole facility, right? He's allowed to practice during the entire, he's going to be in preseason. He can practice with the team all the way up until the week of the first game. And then he takes 3 weeks off for the suspension. And then he's allowed to come back to practice for 3 weeks before the suspension is up, before he finally gets to be in a game week 7. Now, if you watched Jameson Williams play last year, he had some hiccups. He had some drops. Touched the ball like 9 times. And he scored 3 times. Now, 2 of them were called back for penalties that had nothing to do with him scoring. I'm not saying that he should have got the touchdown or anything, but what I'm saying is the ability was there on that play to score a touchdown. And I don't count it as a negative play because he wasn't the one that made that mistake. So as far as ability goes, you scored on 3 of those plays. The speed and the ability is undeniable. I mean, and he gets the entire offseason. He's been working out with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I am so excited about the Jameson Williams thing that I bought tickets for my son and I to go to Baltimore week 7 for the debut of Jameson Williams. And my son's a Lamar Jackson fan, so he'll get to see Lamar Jackson play. Hopefully, if he's not injured by then. Chance Lax, Amon-Ra, and JMO will be a deadly combo for years to come. Khalif and Josh have always been consistent. Getting some love. I love it. All these other guys. Yeah, you can keep sleeping on these guys. Hey, if the Minnesota Vikings can tout Alexander Madison, we can tout Marvin Jones and Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond. It's going to be Madden type shit. That's what Chad says. That's what it feels like, that, doesn't it? That speed is ridiculous. We're going to be able to take speed to the outside right there. Blue and silver. If JMO was out all year, I would have picked up D-Hop, but he's only out 6 games. I wouldn't even doubt if it gets lowered. I mean, I don't know if they're going to push for that. I think they're going to eat it. I don't even want to be in the media for that. So I don't think that it'll get lowered, but yeah, it is. It's only 6 games, and they functioned just fine last year without him. You know, they won 8 down the stretch. So that speed, though, that speed. Yeah, I love our skill positions when you look at them all together. We got great pass catches. I mean, even David Montgomery can catch the ball. Like, all of the skill positions can catch the ball. Blue and silver says, I think Laporta will be the number 2 wide receiver. I love that call. You like that? I like that call. I do. I like that call because they hadn't been lining him up anywhere in there. They haven't been lining him up in tight ends and OTA. They weren't out there throwing him right with all the tight ends, learning all the blocking schemes. No, they had him lined up in the X and the Y. They got him running routes because when he catches the ball, he can make stuff happen. More than TJ, I catch the ball and fall immediately on the ground, Hawkinson. With the wide receiver room relax in the first 6 weeks, Laporta and Gibbs will make up for it. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if they're using Gibbs as a slot wide receiver. Actually, I did like that Tyler Lockett comparison from size. From a size perspective, he does have the hands. He has the long ball hands. He can catch the ball over his shoulder. Wide receiver. So we've been through quarterback. We've been through tight end. We've been through wide receiver. Let's get into the big men. This is where the real battle is, right? The real battle. The offensive line. Let's get into the big men right here. The Lions' offensive line was considered top 5 at the lowest. And you could argue that they would be like top 3, even they've even been ranked as high as 2. Not ahead of Philadelphia. Philadelphia's still got the best offensive line in the league, but we have young ascending talent on this team, and I love it. Right in the middle, Frank Ragnow. He's the center. He has no chance of losing that job right there unless he has that toe injury come up, but it looks like it's something that he's going to end up playing through. Still went to the Pro Bowl with a busted toe. So Frank Ragnow, Frank the Tank, moving people out of the way. One of the top 5 centers in the league. And you got him backed up by Graham Glasgow. And there's nothing wrong with that. A little bit of Graham Glasgow in your life. He can play that traditional center. He can flip over to guard. You definitely don't want to depend on him for the whole season, but that's good depth, though. He has somebody that could start on another team. You have as a backup. Left guard, Jonah Jackson, probably up for an extension. Also played at a Pro Bowl level. So I think they are going to extend Jonah this year or maybe in this offseason. And I think that he'll give us a good deal. He knows where he's at. Woody says all Vikings. Ugh. Yeah, that'll be the most boring show. I might have to, like I said, punt in the middle of that thing and talk about something else because I'll lose all my viewers trying to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Oh my gosh. Sometimes the job isn't all good. I love this show because I love my Detroit Lions. I love talking Lions. And this offensive line, Jonah Jackson, I do think that they are going to extend Jonah Jackson. You want to keep the band together because that's where they're winning the games. You can say Jared Goff versus Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff. Like everybody that's thinking it's all about Goff has no idea what they're talking about. It's these big men in the middle that are just knocking the crap out of your middle guys. And there's nothing you could do about it. They're going to protect him. They're going to protect Jared Goff with that little smirky smile that you hate. And he's just going to be killing you this year. And he's going to be kept clean. Curtis says, amen. Amen. Lions 1960. I'm hoping that drafting Corby Sorsdahl means that the end of the Logan Stenberg experiment. I think that there's truth in that. There's the battle right there. You go right guard. So we talked about Frank Ragnow, one of the best centers in the league. Jonah Jackson, one of the best left guards in the league. Right guard, we got Haloti Puti Vaitai is coming back this year. Now, I know that there are some of the fans of this show that don't agree with the Vaitai thing, but in 2021, Haloti Puti Vaitai didn't allow any sacks on an awful team, on an awful offense. I mean, they had a lot of injuries that year, and Vaitai was one of the bright spots, and he's coming back at right guard. That is his job to lose. I don't think that he's in a spot where he could lose that job, but Colby Sorsdahl could be a Brad Holmes steel gem. The only reason that he dropped was because he went to a small school, William and Mary, and not really known for bringing out NFL talent, fell down, but has all the skill sets. They saw him play at the Senior Bowl. Yes, I think Sorsdahl could absolutely beat out Logan Stenberg, especially in a backup role. And I even put out a little piece the other day having Colby and Vaitai and Glasgow all competing for this right guard. I mean, I think that he's last in that competition because he's the youngest out of all three, but it wouldn't surprise me if Colby came right out and won that right guard job. That is a great comment right there, Lions 1960. Thank you for the comment. Right there, Chad, salary cap is going to be up and we still have 24 million in the bank. Yep, that 24 million might be a Teddy Bridgewater in case Goff were to get injured. Right now, they don't need to spend that money, but it's nice to have a little bit of backup money in case, some of the things don't go how they would go. Where's Mike? I think Mike was he was abducted by aliens, and I don't know where he went. It was a mystery, but we still got the show to run, so I guess it's Russ up here by himself. But going through position by position, here we're talking about that right guard. I think that right guard position is really where the big battle is, right? You got three people vying for that spot, and the one that wins it, I don't think a Glasgow is going to win it, but I think that he backs up the center and both guard positions in one spot, and he even does it better than everywhere Evan Brown. So I think that was an upgrade in the backup position, but Colby could get in there as a backup. He can also play both guard positions, and he can actually back up tackle as well. So with the salary cap going up, we should be able to sign a lot of our own guys. When next year, when we have 70 million in salary cap, a lot of these guys, we're going to be able to keep the band together. You're going to be able to repay guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jonah Jackson, re-up these guys, keep the continuity together. So left tackle, Taylor Decker has been a staple, regardless of what you think about him. I know a lot of you Michigan homers out there just want to razz on him because he's a Buckeye. But Taylor Decker's been solid. He kind of reminds me of Jeff Backus, too. Decker's not like a top 10 left tackle, but he's a top 15 left tackle. I think he's good. He's a good solid piece. You don't want to let him go down the road. He's getting up there, so I think that they will draft his replacement. But for right now, he got him for a couple of years. It's a good left tackle. I like it. That's solid. He ain't going nowhere. Ragnow ain't going nowhere. Sewell ain't going nowhere. Oh, yeah, Penei Sewell. Maybe he's the apparent left tackle. And then you draft a right tackle. And then you move Penei over. Decker is better than Backus. Look at that. That's crazy. You can't be a Michigan fan and say that. I think that I do think that they're similar where they were both underappreciated. Backus was definitely underappreciated because he was on a shit team and he was actually decent. Tina says that, Russell, you should come to the Buccaneers in a Lions game. We tossed that one up. We've tossed that one up. I've been in Tampa Bay before. My wife and I went on our honeymoon out of that port, and we went to Cosmo or whatever. What is that? Cosmo. I can't think of the name of the place in Mexico. Chat says, Russell, do we have enough to bring everyone back? I'm hearing it could go to 84 million. If not, we'll collapse. Teams will collapse. We do have enough. We do have enough to bring everybody back. But for one, a lot of these guys are already under contract. For one, we're not going to have to pay Penei Sewell next year. He's still on a rookie contract, right? You get the 5th-year option type of deal. I think he staggered the contracts pretty well, to tell you the truth, because here's what's going to happen is at some point in time, you're going to move from Jared Goff to Hendon Hooker. I do believe that. I believe they picked their franchise quarterback of the future in Hendon Hooker. He's not going to be seen this year. But starting next year, you're going to be looking at one of the most exciting off seasons, even more exciting than this off season for Lion fans. because you're going to have the decision to make off of Jared Goff. I don't think Jared Goff, this is my opinion right here, but I think that Jared Goff, regardless of how he plays, is not the future of the Detroit Lions. And I love Jared Goff. It's my quarterback. That is my quarterback right there. And I think that he is good enough to take us to win a Super Bowl. I think he is that good. And but they drafted Hendon Hooker. And to your point, Chad, eventually you're going to get all of that 30 million is going to be off because you're going to be paying Hendon Hooker the quarterback money. And you'll have him for a couple of years on the rookie deal, in which you'll be able to sign these other players. So Brad Holmes has done an excellent job to position the Lions to not just be good this year, but to be good for years to come. And there'll be another, I mean, you know, the excitement when you have a new quarterback, right? As soon as they give Hendon Hooker the reins, everyone's going to be excited, right? Got a brand new quarterback. Now it's an accurate quarterback that can run a little bit, right? So eventually they're going to get there. You know, if Goff were to win the Super Bowl, they probably extend him. But they would also have trade value in him too when you want to move on. Now, one thing that Brad Holmes has shown me is that he's a businessman. He's a businessman. As much as we love Jamal Williams, they made him an offer. He turned down the offer. Brad Holmes said, hey, this is what we have to pay our running backs. And Jamal says, oh, let me get back to you. And he didn't get back to him. So Brad Holmes did the smart business decision and signed whoever else was on that list. He gave him a chance to come back. But the same thing's going to happen with Goff too. Goff ain't going to get $40-50 million a year with us. If they offer him an extension, I see Brad Holmes being like this. Hey, look, Jared, we got a good thing going on here. You want to stay with Ben Johnson? I know you could go get 45-50 million somewhere else. You want to sign a 2-year extension? 30 million each? 35 million each? That's Brad Holmes style. Oh, you don't want to? That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Somebody else take that contract. They'd be able to get because it's so cheap, they'd be able to get like a second, third round pick. They'll be able to even get more draft picks if they were to trade him and move on to Hendon Hooker. Or you would be able to trade Hendon Hooker if you believed in Goff. Either way, I don't know. I think Brad Holmes has set it up pretty good. Chad says we've got a better running back in Monty. I do believe that. So, and it's nothing against Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is a great one-cut back. He finds the hole. He does his job. He gets out there, but you ain't going to see him spin moving and getting out and, you know, making people miss on the second level all that much. Monty can break tackles, throw you down on the ground. He's a 220-pound back. He's bigger than Swift. He's bigger than Jamal. He's more elusive than Jamal. He's got better hands than Jamal. So they did. I think that they upgraded, and they also got a hungry guy that wants to play behind a good offensive line that actually opens up holes for him. And that's where we're at. The offensive line. I mean, I don't think that there's much competition here on this offensive line. You know, you're talking about, you know, the competition for the backup. And I love that competition with Vitae, Glasgow, and Sorsdahl to see, you know, who's going to be there. I'm rooting for the young kid. I want Sorsdahl to win it. I do. I want Sorsdahl because that would prove that Brad Holmes, it's like his guys are the ones that are making it through. Oh man, it's TJ. I'm feeling you, brother. TJ, man, I was getting geeked up after free agency. Detroit did a good job in free agency, and now we're getting to the point where we take all these guys, and I am so geeked up for the season right now. And I know that 22 you are right now. that you're on here. July 17th is where we're at right now. And we have avid football fans, and we're talking about Detroit Lions right here. July 17th right here. We don't care about basketball or baseball. I don't anyway. That's why I'm on here. I want football content. We just came through and we talked about that offensive line right there. And that is what separates the Detroit Lions from the rest of the North. That is why they're going to win the NFC North, is because they are going to bully people with that offensive line. Oh, man, that feels good. That feels good to be able to get that off my chest. Now we got to go to the defensive side of the ball. And I know this is going to be a little bit longer of an episode here because maybe I should just start it up and hit it tomorrow. But no, we're going to do it today. Because I want to make sure we can go through all of these positions. Maybe even to help you realize how deep this Lions team is. They did a whole bunch of nice little things that I think got overlooked in the big grand scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, here we are. Like, look at the defensive line depth here. Like, let's go. Let's start with the middle. And these are just a couple of the guys right here. But the middle, Aleem McNeil. Let's be honest here. Aleem McNeil had a body transformation that I have to make mention to. Because last year, when they finally moved Aleem McNeil to the 3 technique in that New York Giants game, he dominated. He dominated that game. He was put as the nose because he's the big guy. But this kid has a pass rush. This kid might be a force. So what did he do in the offseason? Aleem McNeil, 325 pounds of Skittles. 325 pounds of, Chinese food. And what did he do in the offseason? He starts doing yoga. He starts working flexibility, weight training, loses like 13% of his body fat and replaces the body fat with muscle because he's still 325 pounds. This guy looks like the Incredible Hulk. I am so excited to see what he's going to do in the middle of this defense. And then you got a guy like Isaiah Buggs. Isaiah Buggs, he is a solid dude. What a great waiver wire steal from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because he led a weak unit last year that was a weak unit at the beginning of the season. And by the end of the season, it was one of the best units. It was Isaiah Buggs. Aleem McNeil. They bring over Chris Covington. And then they drafted Broderick Martin in the 3rd round. And you're going to undersell Broderick Martin? I wouldn't undersell Broderick Martin. Like when people tell me that they haven't done anything for the defensive line, I think of this stuff. Like they drafted Broderick Martin in the 3rd round. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of him somewhere. And I'm looking. Maybe I don't have one. I thought I did. But Broderick Martin, drafted in the 3rd round, 350-pound dude, 6'4", and the longest arms as a defender in the draft. He's going to be able to throw shots at center and guard, throw them off balance. He's a wrecker. Yeah, as a man coming through the middle there. So they did do some things in the middle of that defense. In the middle of the defense, and that doesn't even count. So when I'm looking at the competition, you got Aleem McNeil, Buggs, Broderick Martin, and Chris Covington, I think are going to be in the middle of that defense in a rotation. I think Aleem McNeil's going to be there every down because he can rush the passer now. And he can penetrate now. He was good at stopping the run last year. And that's what you need in the middle of your defense. Somebody that can stop the run. But the pass rushers, oh my gosh. I mean, you should be excited. If you're a Lion fan, you have to be excited about this pass rushing room. Headline by Aiden Hutchinson with 9.5 sacks last year. I mean, this kid is flashing elite. More sacks than Bosa. Is more sacks than Young, Chase Young. This kid might end up being a top 5 player. Maybe he regresses, but even at that, even if he were to regress, you got guys like Josh Paschal, who was drafted in the 2nd round last year. James Houston, who was drafted in the 6th round last year. Romeo Okwara is coming back, who plays inside and outside. When he came back last year, he had 2 sacks in the game that he came back. And he took a pay cut to stay on the team. Charles Harris, he's coming back. He had 7.5 sacks 2 years ago before he was injured. So there's depth. They have so many guys that can rush the passer. I don't even know. I mean, Romeo Okwara may be in trouble at the back end of this roster. I mean, I don't even know who to drop off of the pass rushing roster. Who are you going to pick? I mean, I think Julian Okwara's in trouble. Don't you? That's crazy. I mean, is Romeo Okwara in trouble? I mean, if they find any type of younger pass rusher in the undrafted free agent to pick up the back end, I mean, nobody's taking Hutchinson's job. Nobody's going to, I mean, James Houston made his mark last year. He's going to have playing time. They're going to give him more playing time. Guy had 8 sacks in 7 games. Josh Paschal had half of the season out last year with a sports hernia. He came back and made an impact. And he's probably the most disappointing out of the whole draft class. And I'm still excited to see what Paschal's going to do with the full offseason. That dude can move inside and outside. So I love the pass rushing room. That rookie class that the Lions had broke the NFL record in sacks last year. No rookie class has ever had more sacks than last year's Lions rookie class. That, I mean, if you're not excited about that, you better check your pulse. Better check your pulse. That's a good pass rushing room right there. But what was so bad last year? Before we get into what was really bad last year, let's get into the linebackers. Because there were some moves that were made with these linebackers. And I like that. I do. I like the linebacker moves. Alex Anzalone had a better year last year. I'm not going to complain too much about that. That's good. They drafted Jack Campbell in the 1st round. Some people might have said they reached a little bit on that because, you don't draft linebackers in the 1st round. You do if they're a badass. I mean, who's really going to care, right? Who's going to care if Jack Campbell comes in and is an all-pro? Is anybody really going to care that they drafted him in the 1st round? Jack Campbell, 6'4", 250 pound, one of the most athletically gifted inside linebackers to come out. And then you got Derek Barnes. You like Derek Barnes? Derek Barnes, I mean, here's a guy going into his 3rd year. He showed the flashes at the end. Do you remember the game at the end of the year in Lambeau, right? Where Quadzilla, they're going to run that 1-yard touchdown in. Nope. Derek Barnes stood him up. Malcolm Rodriguez. A 6th-round draft pick? Are you kidding me? Love it. Oh, I love it. 6th-round draft pick. So now you're looking at Jack Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, Alex Anzalone, and Derek Barnes. That's a pretty good 1, 2, 3, 4, if you ask me, of young talent. Young guys that are going to be that are under contract. You're talking about the contract deal? You worried about contracts? Alex Anzalone, I mean, if Barnes and Rodriguez and Campbell work out, they'll be able to get rid of that Alex Anzalone contract next year. And they would. As soon as they know that they have their guys of the future, the ones that they drafted, then they'll move on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, why not? That's how you do it. You want to draft well, and then you want to make sure that you have these guys locked up for the future. And then you have these guys on reasonable deals for 4 or 5 years. There's only one guy in that crew that you're paying anything to. And that's your captain. Alex Anzalone's your captain. So I dig it. I dig the linebacker room. They addressed it. They addressed it in the way that was a weakness. They turned it into a strength. Kudos, Brad Holm, for the linebacker crew. So let's move on to the secondary. Now, this is where it was bad. Okay, when you're talking about cornerback room, last year the Lions had the 32nd ranked cornerback room. Couldn't stop the pass. The back end was getting killed, for how good our pass rush was last year. How much it made it all the way through the season and did pretty well from a pass rushing standpoint. The cornerbacks didn't do us any favors, okay? And what are you going to do about that? Well, what you want to do is you want to go re-up on that secondary, and that's what they did. Okuda, gone. Amani Oruwariye, gone. Oh my God. If he wasn't so bad in that second game, or that game against Minnesota, they would have won that game. He couldn't keep his hands off of Adam Thielen. I'm so glad that they upgraded that. Amani Oruwariye. Deshaun Elliott, gone. I know that he was a safety, but I'm just saying they've had quite the turnover. So you bring in Cameron Sutton. That's a nice, solid pickup. Anybody that would make fun of that pickup, I mean, that's just a solid dude. Cameron Sutton, a very intelligent football player, very intelligent cornerback, undersized, so he had to work his way onto the roster. Very, very smart. I love the Cameron Sutton pickup. No, he's not a Sauce Gardner or anything like that. He's not Jair Alexander, but he's a solid dude. He's sticky. He'll stay right on you. Plays physical, can play the slot, good against the run. Cameron Sutton, like that. And then they bring in Emmanuel Mosley, who had an ACL injury last year. Now, he's supposed to be ready by camp, but he will be competing in where I believe that the big competition will be the first cornerback position into like Emmanuel Mosley, Jerry Jacobs. Those three guys are going to be competing for, I guess, what you would call 1, 2, 3, right? but I wouldn't say any. We don't have a cornerback that is like your quote unquote like shut down cornerback. You know what I'm saying? So we still need an alpha cornerback. I think Jerry Jacobs might be the closest there. He really worked his way on. He's gotten better every year, but you can't just expect third year to jump right in there, right? But Cameron Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley, those are two really solid pieces. So whether that's 1, 2, 3, it's not really going to matter because you're still going to have a solid 1, 2, 3, no matter how that slices out right there, right? You put some money into Chase Lucas, little draft pick right there. I don't know if he makes the team. But that's a nice 1, 2, 3 cornerback room right there. And then you have a bunch of guys that I think that are both. So you bring in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now, he's kind of like a wild card. Is this dude he's a slot, he's a cornerback, or is he a safety? He's secondary, but he's going to be playing probably every play. He'll be out there. So where he may line up could be different every time. I think he's a wild card. And then, from the safety room, you got Kirby Joseph. You got Tracy Walker. Tracy Walker was really, really good. So where are we talking? Let me go back into some of these comments in here. Go back a little bit. TJ says that Thor had a pretty good year. Yeah. Oh, you guys everybody's really excited, it looks like, about these lines right here. Hutchinson had 9.5. Houston had 8.5. I think Houston only had 8. I got called out for that, I think. Mitch says that which one doesn't start, though? Only got room for 3. I'm not sure which one you're talking about there. McNeil had 10.5 and 21. I don't think that's 10.5 sacks. I don't know about that. Maybe. Max says, love Alex Campbell soup commercial. Yeah, there you go. Bugs is a monster. Yep. Mosley is a ball hawk. Yep. Now we are here into this cornerback competition. I think our secondary could be a top 15 secondary. That I have no problems with that. It's kind of cool where they're strong in the secondary, because you're looking at a whole bunch of these guys that are versatile. I haven't even mentioned Brian Branch, whom they drafted at pick 45, and that's only going to add to the secondary. He's actually kind of like a secondary linebacker because he's really good against the run, and he's a very good tackler. And so I love what they did with the Lions secondary. You can't get any worse than 32nd in the league. And they bring in all these brand new guys. Brian Branch, Emmanuel Mosley, you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and Cameron Sutton. And those 4 pieces right there, maybe especially the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That is such an underrated signing. I can't believe the more people aren't saying stuff about that. He led the league in interceptions last year. So the secondary on paper looks much better, and with this progressing pass rush, I mean, the defense has a chance to be really good this year. I mean, if these secondary guys can even play average secondary, with all the improvements at pass rush, I can't see them not being a lot better this year. Yeah, TJ says that it's crazy that our team is so good that we forget people. And that was part of this experiment, man. I really wanted to go through and help you guys understand why we should be pretty excited about this team. There you go. Here's a guy that we don't even really talk about. Janny says Christian Covington making noise. Yes, he's making noise. He's making noise. He's a quality interior defensive lineman that is going to get lost in a shuffle with us. I mean, is depth. It's just depth pieces. He was a solid guy in over there at the Chargers. So, I mean, just another guy. I mean, it's not anything that you're going to call home about, but for a depth position, this guy probably could have held out and went somewhere else and competed for a starting job. He probably won't start here. That's what I'm saying is a lot of these people are coming here and they're feeling good about it. They're feeling real good. So I want to take this time right here. I'm going to say hello to everybody that I'm broadcasting into. So for one, I'm broadcasting my own personal page, Russell Wayne. That's me. I'm Russell Wayne. I'm a musician that loves football. And Mike and I both are musicians. And we decided that we wanted to do football talk too, because that's what we end up doing at a lot of our gigs. We end up watching sports, watching football. And so, yeah, if you want to find out where I'm playing, I got a gig this Friday and a gig this Thursday. If you guys aren't doing anything, I know you guys are in the Detroit area. I'm in Fenton on Friday, and then I'm in Flint on Saturday. If you guys want to come out and watch an acoustic guitar player like me, I would love to see one of these football people that are out there. The Detroit Lion news. I can't express to you guys how much I appreciate being able to go into this 55,000 person network and broadcast to Detroit Lion fans. And I appreciate you guys even listening to me on here, a bunch of noise coming out of my mouth right here. But thank you to the Detroit Lion News. Go follow them. The Detroit Lion Villain Squad, that's our page right there. We started that about a month and a half ago when we had to. One of our pages got shut down by some D-bag that lives out in Shelby Township. But we don't cry over spilled milk. We just going to get up. We started a new page. We appreciate you to go give a follow to the Villain Squad. I would love that. And this episode being brought to you by WTHisautism.com, trying to raise autism awareness. I have a 4-year-old autistic boy, and we really just want the world to know what it is. So you can go to www.wthisautism.com and find out about that. So I appreciate everybody coming on here, talking some football. This has been the Monday edition. We are coming on later on tonight for NFC North Open Mic. Tonight, we're taking the gloves off. We're going to have some Packer fans in here. We're going to have some Lion fans and Viking fans and Bear fans. And we're going to talk trash to each other. We'll talk a little bit of football about the NFC North coming in tonight. Let me look at this. So like this guy, the morning sessions every day, 11 a.m. Eastern time on here with Russell Wayne, usually talking NFC North. Today, we're talking some Lions football. But tonight, NFC North Open Mic, 7 p.m. Eastern every Monday, even especially during the season, right before Monday Night Football. We would love to have you hop on, give us some comments, talk a little bit of trash, but don't bring your feelings because you're just going to get them hurt. And definitely on the rated R version of this, you'll get your feelings hurt if you come in there tonight. But if you enjoy that kind of thing, we'd love to see you out there. So my name is Russell Wayne, and this has been Detroit Lions Talk with your host, Russell Wayne. God bless each and every one of you. I will see you guys tonight for NFC North Open Mic. Peace out. One pride.